Hopefully this works. Can you all hear me? Testing, testing. Okay. Breaking news. Again, this is times two. Trae Young has officially been traded. I will say this. Sad day for the Atlanta Hawks fans. Trae Young, really, really, really good dude from what I hear from the peeps. And the fact of the matter is that the Atlanta Hawks traded him. Sad day. So I'm seeing reports that apparently Trae Young decided to stay on the bench after he knew he was traded. This is kind of just what I see from Trae Young. He's a stand-up guy. In this whole like stigma that everyone hates playing with him is I don't think that's true, to be completely honest. But yes, Trae Young got traded. Let me read you the news or the report from Shams, essentially, or Mark Stein. Trae Young has been traded for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum. Here's the big thing. There are no draft picks changing teams in this trade. Now, this means a couple things. Number one, the Atlanta Hawks clearly just want to get off of Trae Young's contract. I would say this: what a steal by the Washington Wizards. I mean, they essentially got Trae Young, which is a 25-10 guy, for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum, I know, is a expiring contract, but I mean, you get a guy that's like, I hate to say it, but a perennial all-star for nothing. Now, I'm looking at the Atlanta Hawks. Why did they do this? And like you said, Thunderball, to free up a lot of cash, because Trae Young was due like $48 million, and he probably was going to opt into his player option. The thing and how it works is like Trae Young technically is a free agent this year, but he has a player option, so he could have opted in and gotten that money essentially. And so looking at Ansi Soleil, he was just like, Trae Young clearly is not working. I know Rudy Gobert won for that. Trae Young's clearly not working. Let's just try to get off of him. Now, I will say this. The last time the Atlanta Hawks did something like that, it was for John Collins. Many people argue it was a bad trade. Many people argue it was a good trade. But I think it was kind of a lateral move for the Hawks back then. It just sucks. It just sucks for me. Because Trae Young, like I said, was a guy that everyone watched. He was on the court. You got to give a shout out to Trae Young because he's such a good guy. And he really embraced this Atlanta Hawks culture. And for him to be officially gone this soon is really, really, really sad. To be completely honest, I don't know if I just don't know how to feel about it. I mean, it's just not great. To be completely honest, I think Quinn should have been looked at before Trae. I know that's going to be controversial. I'm not a fan of a lot of Quinn's lineups and how he's been utilizing everyone. And plus, Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker played 14 minutes together. But apparently, I agree, coaching is a problem. But apparently, Trae Young was the issue. They decided to get off of him where there was some sort of demand for him. And apparently, they found the Washington Wizards. So, once again, shout out to the Washington Wizards. They essentially got a perennial all-star for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum, a guy that they got in a trade. I mean, they were going to get rid of anyway next year. So it is really, really, really crazy. Let me see if I can go to Twitter and see if anyone's saying anything on Twitter. Yeah, they're just talking about the contract negotiations. So Bobby Mark says this. So CJ McCollum was $30 million, Corey Kispert was $14 million, and then Trae Young was $46 million. The thing about Corey Kispert for the Atlanta Hawks is that he has a 4-year deal. So essentially, the Atlanta Hawks are tied to him this year in 3 more years at basically $13 million. I've read reports that essentially they like Corey Kispert because he was a true shooting guard who is big and can play defense. So I think that Corey Kispert is probably future Luke Kennard, and also in looking at like trades for AD, Luke Kennard has been mocked in that trade a lot, and so you got to think if the Hawks are interested in trading AD Kennard, it'd probably be Kennard and Porzingis and something else. So Kennard will be gone, but essentially they got their, I would say, shooter of the future. Kispert is good. Is good. He's no Trae Young. And then they got CJ McCollum. The thing is that I'm interested to see is, do they keep CJ McCollum for the rest of the year? Or do they do like a buyout? Or do they see if he can actually help this team out going forward? Because like I said, this is it. He's due $30 million this year, and then he's gone off the books. And so I'm interested to see what they decide to do with him. But for those who haven't been watching, Trae Young obviously got traded. No picks on the deal, which is crazy. So it is straight up Corey Kispert, CJ McCollum for Trae Young. That is insanity. If you watch the games, the Atlanta Hawks are currently winning right now, but or they won. But Trae Young is like dapping up the staff. He's dapping up DC Young Fly. I mean, this is really just a sad day, to be completely honest. Trae Young was the guy, but the Atlanta Hawks ultimately salary dump one of the best players in franchise history, which is insane to say out loud. Like I said, the thing is, what's really frustrating to me, because I'm a little bit frustrated about this. I understand the move. I really do. But I'm a little bit frustrated about this because I think the issue was clearly not Trae Young. I think the issue was Quinn Snyder. And the thing is, they must be making another move that we don't know about, because this team got worse without having. I know Trae Young wasn't playing, but this team essentially got worse. Like, what's the end goal? I'm guessing. I'm just guessing. I'm guessing they have like someone like 80 on the books or just ready to pull the trigger. And they had that lined up already. The first big domino was clearly Trae Young. And then it's kind of like good timing because you're seeing reports of 80 not being traded. His value is going down. But so like you were saying, Michael, I really don't. I mean, I don't know what we're doing. This is the ultimate salary dump for the best player we've had since Dominique Wilkins. I mean, it's true. And so, like, Trae Young will go down in history as one of the greats in Atlanta, and we essentially got Corey Kispert for him. That's pretty much it. No picks, nothing for the future. Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum. Let me see if there's any other news, because like this is insane. Someone just tweeted, I wouldn't be surprised if Auntie uses CJ and Kispert to facilitate an AD trade. Maybe. Do the Mavs want Kispert? Mavs might actually want McCollum because it's an expiring contract. So maybe it could work. Maybe they could flip it and go, and essentially it would be like a Trae versus AD trade without trading directly to those two teams. But man, is this is just sad. This is just sad. So another tweet by Jake Weinbach says this. After trading Trae Young to the Wizards, another idea worth floating would be Atlanta targeting Bulls guard Kobe White to strengthen the ball handling duties in the backcourt. Given Chicago's willingness to listen to offers, I would say at least it's some real possibilities. Bulls will likely seek future assets and expiring salary in return. So we're going to go from Trae Young to Kobe White. And what do we get in return? Kispert. Like, what? Auntie. I mean, everyone was on board for Auntie. I'm still on board with Auntie, but like, I hope this is just the tip of the iceberg, and we should be seeing more, because we're not in good company if this is the case. We're not. I mean, this is just, it is what it is. We are not, this is not good. and I could be biased because it's Trae Young, but like, and I know his trade value wasn't the greatest. I agree. I know his trade value wasn't the greatest at this point, but come on, like, I'm speechless at this point. I'm speechless. Oh man. I'm going to start a poll. Uh, please tell me what you think in the comment. Do you agree with the Hawks trading Trae Young? I mean, I would say for me personally, no, especially what they got in return. But some people may think otherwise. But yeah, I think like yeah, it's not good at all. Not good at all. Not good at all. Let me see some tweets out here. Let me see if some stuff out here for the peeps. What's going on out here? Let me see if I can share my screen. Golly, come on, Hawks. Like, what are we doing? Sheesh, what are we doing? All right. Golly. Yeah, they traded Trae for Kit Kat and a pack of Downlaters. Literally, I think literally, actually, they traded him for less. They traded him for a pack of Hubba Bubba. Horrible trade. 34-year-old CJ McCollum and Kispert. Yeah, I think the big thing for the Hawks is salary dump. But once again, I have never seen a team salary dump their best player over the last 10 years. It would be like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent. It'd be like Cleveland salary dumping Donovan Mitchell. Like, I don't get that. I'm like, what are we doing? And I guess Jalen Johnson lessens the blow a little bit, but I've never, it just literally, the Atlanta teams right now are in shambles. I mean, like we have literally cleaned up everything. Now, this is good for content, but man, are we really like really? This is really crazy. Jeffrey, obviously there was something going on behind the scene. Love Trae, but we waited too late to trade him. And his trade, I agree. That's what I'm saying. I agree. His trade value is zero. The thing is, it just sucks that like, I mean, Trae has obviously been our best player. It just sucks it didn't work out. Like, and I agree. It just sucks we didn't see this coming. And I mean, what really sucks is we're still a bad team. Like we're still 4 games below 500. Actually, it might be 3 with the win today. And so for all this to go down and we still like aren't the greatest, it really, really sucks. Unfortunately, someone says JJ will go through the same thing in 4 years. The Hawks revolving cycle. I think so, man. I mean, I hope not. I think Jalen has a lot. I hate to say a lot more upside than Trae. I think Trae had a lower floor than Jalen. I mean, a higher floor, but I think Jalen has a lot more upside. But still, like this is once again, Trae Young will go down in the record book in Atlanta Hawks, and we gave him away for Kispert and a salary dump. So Evan Siddery, he basically tweeted this, and this is what I was saying earlier. After trading Trae Young, the Hawks now plan to pursue Anthony Davis in a package deal built around expiring contracts, Kristaps Porzingis and Luke Kennard. Atlanta appears to be changing their identity into a defense-first model after years building around Trae Young's offensive prowess. For those listening, Atlanta Hawks are going to a defensive model. You know who that directly impacts in the future? Quinn Snyder, because he is not a defensive coach. And so if they decide to go defense, like if they decide to go AD, I would expect Quinn to be hitting the door as well. Um, and like I said earlier, I mean, it makes sense. I don't like it, but that's probably why the reason why they were dialed in on Kispert is like they need a shooter for this team, and they figured Luke Kennard is going to be gone in the AD trade. So essentially, they're trying to back in trade for AD by trading Trae. Essentially, so is it going to work? I don't know. Um, no, yeah. Someone says act like y'all haven't seen JJ run the show, and McCollum is an outstanding player. Not sure if the Hawks are finished yet. CJ is good, folks. Calm down, see how things go. I think CJ is good. The thing is, for me, um, what do they decide to do with CJ? Like, do they like sign and like do they trade him again, or do they let him play, or do they like do a buyout? That's what I'm worried. I'm worried the Hawks might just end up doing a buyout and let him go somewhere else. I like CJ. CJ can score. CJ can come off the bench and give people 20 or 30, which this team actually needs in the second unit. But hate to see Trae Young go. And then Kispert is a shooter. But at that point, too, you're talking about, okay, you got Kispert, Kennard, Veet. You got a lot of shooters, not a lot of defense. And if you're moving toward defense, you didn't really improve yourself. Like the Hawks are the bottom 10 in defense. Getting Kispert and CJ McCollum is not going to help the defense. Like I said, this obviously was a salary dump for Trae Young. We all know that. But man, I just hate that they salary dumped their best player in the last 20 years. So I said, act like y'all haven't seen JJ run the show and McCollum. Yeah, JJ's good. I think JJ, I think that's why the Atlanta Hawks were so easy to let Trae go. It's because they see the talent of JJ. JJ can be a perennial all-star, but one, he has to play defense. I don't know if he like the more he's scoring, he feels like he doesn't have to play defense as much, but his defense has been terrible the last few weeks. And then he has to get control of these turnovers, like these late game turnovers. If he needs to be the guy, Trae Young was the guy. But if Jalen Johnson wants to be the guy, he has to figure out these late game turnovers because that will cost you games in the future. Someone says leave AD where it is. The thing about AD is like the Hawks need defense. And regardless of how injured AD is a better defender than Porzingis. And so if they're moving toward defense, AD is basically a better player than Porzingis for that. Trae Young was a huge liability on defense. Teams targeted him. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that's ultimately sealed the fate. I think the league is moving toward more of a defensive philosophy. We went from like defense, like with the Pistons, and then now everything is like about spacing and skill. I feel like now it's going back to more athleticism, athletic defensive players. I mean, you look at the Thompson, the Thompson twins, like they're just athletic defenders. And somehow they're in high demand right now. So, it is what it is, the ebbs and flows. People are asleep on CJ. I agree. CJ can score. And like I said, I don't know their plan for CJ. I don't know if they're going to go turn around and flip him. But if they allow CJ to come off the bench, he will help the Atlanta Hawks come off the bench and score in bunches. The thing is, defensively, what are the Hawks going to do? Like, because you just can't add Kispert and McCollum and expect your defense to get better. Like, because you think the second unit right now, if McCollum's on the second unit, it's like McCollum probably be running the point. You got Veet, and then you got Luke Kennard with, I don't know, probably like Asa and whoever. Like, there is no defense in that second unit. So, we'll see. Yeah, they said we cleared it for 80. I agree. Yep, I read that report. Essentially, this clears the way. And the reason why the Hawks got Kispert is because they need a shooter in the future because they're going to end up trading Luke to the Mavericks for 80. So it'd be right now is what they're saying. The proposed trade is Luke, Kristaps in probably that first rounder. That obviously not the Pelicans first rounder, but the other first rounder for 80. Yeah, I don't mind short-term 80 on a short-term loan. Like I said, he is Porzingis, but with defense, I mean, for 2 years, we'll take it. We really haven't had a true center in Atlanta. And so having AD, I'll see how it is. But yeah, 2 years, it's not bad. I mean, essentially that's what we'll have to do with Trae Young anyway. And I guess they're thinking we might as well go with AD in defense than Trae Young in the offense. So whole team needs to work for the defense, yes, and I think it starts with Jalen Johnson. Yes, he's good, and his game has elevated offensively. It starts with him, and then Onyeka. Onyeka hasn't been playing great defense either, so we'll see. This trade is going to haunt us every time. The thing is, Trae Young is going to literally drop 60 every time he plays in Atlanta or against Atlanta. That's the negative. Like the Wizards are like a divisional rival, right? Every time we play them, he's going to drop 60 and probably try to beat us. And that's not good, especially now that we're losing to the bottom half of the Eastern Conference teams. Like, we cannot beat Toronto right now. Miami has our number. I feel like the Charlotte Hornets have our number. And so you just add fuel to the fire with Washington. It's not good at all. AD is rarely available, can't play defense, and always hurt and not on the court. The thing about AD is, like, we got that in Kristaps, so they're just like, we might as well try to get better, like, from a defensive perspective. Our draft will replace Trae. If we get that one guy from Kansas, it will. And I think hindsight 2020, no disrespect to Zach, but, like, if there was a redraft, we would obviously take Stephon Castle. And Trae would have been gone, but, we're here now. I do like Zachary Ricochet. I really do. And I think with a different defensive philosophy, I think he'll shine a little bit more. Yeah, Trae's going to go crazy. AD isn't worth a gamble and costs too much. They should give Mo Gay a shot. He's willing to play. I agree. The thing about Mo Gay is I think AD is averaging like 20-something right now. And so you lose like 12 to 15 points if you start Mo Gay. Yeah, if there was a redraft, we'd have kept Luka. I agree, but apparently they're having turmoil too. The Lakers are having turmoil with him and LeBron. So I don't know. It might have been that draft. You got Trae, Luka, and company. That might have just been the diva draft, I guess. I don't know. Let me get on here. Let me see what else is going on. Okay, so it says while the Wizards had hoped to receive second-round picks from the Hawks in the trade, Atlanta wanted a first-round pick in addition. Washington didn't initially want to trade Corey Kispert, but his involvement evened the deal from both teams' perspectives. So there it is. So the Atlanta Hawks initially wanted a first. The Wizards would have got a second. So I'm guessing it would have been C.J. McCollum, some random guy that they didn't want to give up, and a first to the Hawks. And then the Wizards would have got a second. Or the Hawks prioritized the first for Corey Kispert. Is Corey Kispert worth a first-round draft pick? I'm going to let y'all leave y'all thoughts in the comments. Apparently he is, because the Hawks essentially prioritized Corey Kispert over a future first. I mean, it probably would have been top 10 projected, but still, like, Corey Kispert is good. The thing about Corey Kispert, too, he's 6'7", and he can defend. And the Atlanta Hawks, basically, he was on a 4-year deal at $14 million. So the Atlanta Hawks are like, we locked down our shooter for the future. He's a 6'7", bigger, basically Kyle Korver type, more athletic Kyle Korver. And we locked him down for 4 years. So, but essentially, initially, the Hawks wanted a first in return. The Wizards wanted a couple seconds. And so that didn't happen, and the Hawks prioritized Corey Kispert. People are saying expect Atlanta to stay active after the Trae Young deal. Hawks now possess two $30 million plus expiring contracts in Porzingis and McCollum. And in this day and age, that is money. Sad day. I'm just watching videos. Trae Young walking out. I will say this: at least the Hawks won tonight. Because imagine if they lost and they traded Trae Young. This is low-key very sad. I'm going to be honest. This is extremely sad. Oh, sheesh. Man. I'm not saying Trae Young was like my guy. I didn't know him personally, but you talk about a guy that literally like Migos, like he was part of the culture. Yeah. You think they making the debut Friday? Probably. Honestly, they both sat out today. Trae Young sat out, so I think we will see McCollum and Kispert play. I mean, they're not really like the Hawks don't play much defense anyway, so I don't know how much integrating for defense they need to do. But yes, I think they'll end up playing on Friday. A lot of changes in Atlanta sports. Maybe it's a good thing. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I'm gonna go like maybe the Hawks and Falcons needed a revamp because I mean they were mediocre teams, and so once again, I hate us trading our best player we've had in the last 20 years, but maybe a refresh is what we needed. Yeah, I think the three reasons why we traded Trae Young. Number one, he's 6'1", and the and NBA is showing like you have to be your primary. And honestly, Doris Burke said this a long time ago, and people kind of pushed her off. But like your primary superstar has to be bigger than 6'5" for you to win. And I initially laughed at that, but like it seems like that might be true. So Trae Young being 6'1" on paper, but he's like low key 5'11", probably why he got traded. Two, not playing great defense. Three, the team sucks with the way they're doing things right now. And then four, he's due $48 million next year. And so I am guessing that the Hawks would rather spend money on a defensive force to help them with the defensive end because their defense is terrible than pay Trae Young, essentially. And also he's due a contract next 2 years from now. So you're gonna lose him regardless, because they definitely weren't paying him after he picked up his player option. So they're like, you might as well get something for him. How do I feel about the trade? Um, I'll say two things. From an Atlanta Hawks fan, I'm not a fan. I mean, like I said, Trae Young was our best player we've had in the last 20 years. From a like the current team business perspective, I get it. Um, Trae Young's trade value was not great at all, and essentially, this team is better like going forward post Trae Young because we have two expiring contracts. Essentially, this trade just freed up $40 million for next year. 35 plus. And so, I mean, if you're a believer in that Kansas guard or whatever, and you're a believer in, Dyson and Akil, then, I mean, it makes sense. But as an Atlanta sports fan, Trae Young, he's been an awesome guy for the city. And to be honest, I think he will ultimately improve the Wizards. And I think at the end of the day, we'll look back at this trade and be like, dang, we lost a really good one because I think the Wizards are going to turn up now with Trae Young, to be completely honest. Yeah, the longer we kept him, the the Hawks should have traded him when they were the most value they could have got from him was that like Trae Young or DeJounte kind of vibe. The thing about that is though, DeJounte hasn't been the same either. So we would have been. I'm not saying he got hurt in Atlanta, but if we were to project DeJounte in Atlanta, what he's doing now, they would have got the same trade value. So it was a lose-lose situation. But to get the most out of Trae Young, we should have traded him when DeJounte was on the team. I think Trae Young defensively, people hated. And I would say in the, let's just say 5 years ago, I think Trae Young was ideal for a lot of teams because there wasn't a cap. They weren't as strict on the cap. It was a lot more spacing, moving, ball movement, shooting threes. The Warriors were going crazy, and everyone wanted to build their team like the Warriors. And so Trae Young thrived about 5 to 10 years ago. I just think he was a little late because right now, teams are building teams to be defensive and to be young. And Trae Young is not that because the salary cap and the negotiation and the collective bargaining, everything's so much tighter. So you can't pay a guy that doesn't play defense and just shoots. You can't pay him $50 million because you can't afford anyone else. And so I think that ultimately had a big thing to do with it as well. I think CJ is good. And I don't want to over or undersell CJ. I think CJ will help the Atlanta Hawks second unit. The only thing about CJ in the second unit is where is the defense going to come from in the second unit? It's my only thing. Because right now, no one in the second unit plays defense. And so, it's going to be on Quinn to get the right lineups. And we know how Quinn Snyder is with his lineups. They have been sketch at best. So don't be shocked if we see a Veet, Kennard, Kisper, McCollum lineup because it might happen. Don't sleep on the pick we have next year. That will be crucial. Yeah, obviously, Pelicans pick will be crucial. I think we have a second pick too, but we do have to be good because we basically flip it with the Spurs. So we want to try to be good, but we have two picks next year. So, but obviously the first one, Pelicans pick, it might be, like I said, that guy, that Darren guy from Kansas. He is a baller. I mean, I would love to get AJ or Boozer, but it's probably leaning toward that Darren guy from Kansas. Sad part is we never get to see Trae, KP, JJ all together. I read a tweet that said essentially Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker played 14 minutes in total all season. Just unfortunate. But I will say this, Trae Young being hurt ended up, I'm not hoping, but it showed a path for the Atlanta Hawks. It ultimately led to Trae Young's demise because it showed that the Hawks could win without him. But the Hawks need to pick up their defense because they can't win without their defense. Could CJ be a trade piece for AD? Yes, I did read a tweet that said expiring contract. It could be if the Hawks decide to keep Kristaps and AD, they could use what's his name, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll trade up Kristaps and keep CJ. But they could use CJ and Kispert for AD. Yeah, the ultimate Trae Young needs to be on a team that's not great. I mean, that's his thing. That's where he thrives. Like when the Hawks first started with not great players, Trae Young was elite because he could do everything. But the more we saw Trae Young's role get suppressed, I hate to say the worse he got, but the more expendable he got because they're like, okay, yes, Trae Young can get you 25 and 10, but we need more than 25 and 10. We need a guy that can play defense. And if we get 20 and 8 out of Nickeil Walker and he can play defense, we would much rather have that. So Trae Young needs to be on a team where he can be the guy. He just went to a team. Now watch, Trae Young over the next few years will be a perennial all-star. He will average 30 and 8, and they won't have to worry about anything because, he'll be the best player on that they've had since John Wall, to be completely honest. KP and Luke traded for AD. Maybe. I mean, I think that's what they're saying is going to happen. It'd be KP, Luke Kennard, and the other first rounder, not the Pelicans first rounder. So therefore, we would trade essentially Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luke Kennard for AD, CJ McCollum, and Corey Kispert. Is that a good trade? You tell me. Showed a path for him for real. Yeah, unfortunately, if Trae Young doesn't get hurt, I think he'll still be on this team. But he did, so. I'm gonna go through a little longer, and then I'm just going, and then leave it. Sometimes Quinn Snyder just he irks me a little bit. So they asked him about the golly about the trade. He said he's not at liberty to talk or answer the big story. Like, come on, bro, get out of here. Sometimes he just obviously that's the biggest story you had going on, and you pretend like it didn't happen. And I don't know legally if he's not allowed to say anything, but yeah. Um, Another story about the Hawks, and this is also my gripe with Quinn Snyder. I'm not going to knock on Quinn Snyder, but Zachary Richiche scored 25 points tonight. He played 34 minutes. Is there a correlation between the amount of minutes he plays and how better he is? Yes. The only person that doesn't see that is our head coach. KP back to Dallas. And the thing about KP back to Dallas is I think Dallas will re-sign him because he'll help that team out a lot. He's a better fit for Cooper Flag and Kyrie than AD is. The thing is, Trae Young was due $49 million next year. That's obviously the big part of the trade. Also, Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert's a good player, and his deal is very favorable. 4-year, $54 million. So you get essentially Luke Kennard, a taller, pretty much equivalent shooting Luke Kennard for 4 years, and he's younger too. A lot of people says it doesn't help the Hawks in the past, present, or future. I don't. I mean, it definitely helps them in the future because it frees up cap space. But it doesn't. It doesn't like their team now is going to be worse. Some people say we couldn't even get the draft rights to some random dude in a different country. Yeah, yeah. No, SARS in DC. Like, can you like they're low key building a pretty good team. They were, you know what DC needed? A star. You know they just got a star. Who did they trade to get a star? Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum. Man, shout out to the Wizards. Also, this quadruple downs our chances of not getting Giannis. If for those wondering, essentially, not only does Giannis, I mean Trae Young go out the door, but Giannis definitely goes out the door now. Golly, Trae Young, what a you should have known things were up when Trae Young showed up to warm ups without wearing Hawks gear. Like we should have known he was gone. Man, this sucks. Well, uh, trying to see if anything else is popping up, but for those who don't know, Trae Young got traded. And what's also crazy is he got traded mid game. I don't know why it was so urgent, but I guess they just wanted to get a deal done. So yeah, just sad. It's just sad. Yeah, but be on the lookout. I would say tomorrow. You probably wake up to the notification because the Hawks need. This isn't just a single move. This move can't be seen in a vacuum because the Hawks obviously are doing other things because you just cannot get rid of Trae Young and then not get a point guard, not get any defense, just get 2 shooting guards. Like something else has to be done. And so we will see. But yeah, I'm gonna read you this one last thing, and then we'll go. So Trae Young, after his rookie season, 2020, he was a 30 point per game, 9 assists per game guy. 2021, 25 points per game, 9 assists. 2022, 28, 10 assists. 2023, 26 points, 10 assists. 2024, 26 points, 11 assists. And this year, 23 points, 12 assists. Literally, he had like Steve Nash stats on Steve Nash MVP stats on steroids every year. I'm telling you, the Wizards are going to be set up for the future. And I'm telling you right now, the Wizards are going to re-sign Trae Young to a 4-year deal, and he is going to help the Wizards get out of this funk that they've been in for, whatever. And the Hawks, someone just tweeted the Hawks wasted 8 years of a generational talent. They really did. So, but yeah, that's all I have. Trae Young traded. Unfortunate news for the Atlanta Hawks, but they did essentially salary dump Trae Young. They did get a shooter of the future, and hopefully this links them to another trade, most likely AD. But I appreciate y'all staying on. Appreciate y'all leaving comments in the chat, and we will see how this goes for the Hawks in the future. But appreciate y'all showing up. Like always, peace. AD to the Hawks. Yes, I think that's the next big move for the Hawks.